We have been talking in the book of Daniel how God is sovereign over all things. He has a plan for empires and nations and people, knows history, sees future, but also has a micro plan for us. Micro in the way that we are small compared to empires rising and falling, but he knows all things, past, present, and future. And also, in this world, one of the biggest questions in Christianity is, why do bad things happen to good people? Why do bad things happen at all? And what we see here is that there is going to be a time where evil is stopped, where it is ended. And God has and gave Daniel a timeline on what that looks like. The reason I like Daniel 8 is because it is repetitive and then it adds new information. And so, as we saw in 7, the rise and falls of empires, of Babylon, of the dual empire of Medo-Persia, of Greece that comes after, and then Rome, going to see the same thing in this chapter. We also have to realize that chapter 7 and chapter 8 come before chapter 5, come before the lion's den. And you can figure that out by reading which king was in charge in the beginning of each chapter. Daniel has a vision, and this vision is different than Daniel 7 because in that chapter he has a dream. He's laying down at night. Here he seems to be awake and he's transported to Susa. He tells and writes about his dream. Then we have this little conversation between two holy ones in verse 13, which says, how long will it take that vision that Daniel saw to be fulfilled? And then there's an interpretation of the vision. So I'm going to get right into it. Biblical prophecy should stir something up in you. It might be a little uncomfortable. It might be confusing. You might be a little scared. I don't know what that feeling is, but it evoked something in Daniel because here he gets this vision and then he's terrified and he lays down and he falls into a deep sleep. And the angel's like, all right, Daniel, now get up because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. These visions aren't just about terror and scaring Daniel. It's about giving a timeline for future empires, but also giving a glimpse of what's going to happen in the end times. It's a little bit of hope in a time that feels scary. The first animal that Daniel sees is a two-horned ram, and it seems to be taking over everything. And it has two horns because it is the empire that comes after Babylon of Medo and Persia, and they were together, except that the Persian side was bigger and stronger and was taking over, and so that is why one of the horns is bigger than the other horns. And then we have this goat, and if you notice, all the way back in verse 5, it says it crossed the whole earth without touching the ground. This empire is the Greek Empire led by Alexander the Great. In chapter 7, it was the leopard with the wings and the 4 heads. It's swift. It's strong. Alexander the Great took over everything. Remember what we talked about yesterday. Alexander the Great is that one horn, and then it says 4 horns come after. Because when Alexander the Great died, he didn't have a biological successor, a son, to take over. And so 4 of his generals split and divided the empire, which is why we have 1 horn and then 4 horns. What you need to understand about biblical prophecy is that a lot of times it has near fulfillment and far fulfillment. So the near fulfillment would be something that happens in history that we can look back and say, Daniel prophesied this and it happened. And then far fulfillment is Daniel prophesied this, or whoever the prophet was, and it will happen in the end times. And so this has both. This horn in verse 9 and the prince in verse 23 have near fulfillment and far fulfillment. The near fulfillment, the thing that actually happened in history that we can look back and say this happened, this is true, is when Antiochus Epiphanes came to power. He was a persecutor of the Jews. He stopped the sacrifices. He sacrificed a pig in the temple. He opposed God and worship. He rose to power with force and intrigue, and so will the Antichrist. It shows what the Antichrist is going to do. He will be very strong, but not by his own power. He's going to be given power by Satan. He will cause devastation and will succeed in whatever he does, because when he comes to power, he's going to come in peace. It's going to be attractive. People are going to follow him. This is a 7-year period. We're going to talk about it in a minute. In the middle of that 7-year period, he's going to flip, and he's going to oppose all worship that's not towards him. It says he will destroy those who are mighty, the holy people. He will cause deceit to prosper. He will consider himself superior and will want other people to do the same. And when they feel secure, he will destroy many and take his stand against the prince of princes. Both Antiochus Epiphanes and the Antichrist will look like complete successes until God comes and topples their reign. The one thing I want to cover before we close is that question, those holy ones who said, how long? And the answer is, it will take 2,300 evenings and mornings, then the sanctuary will be reconsecrated. And you're like, what? And if numbers and math make you crazy, just wait till we get to Daniel 9. This time period is a little less than 7 years. This time period of 2,300 days we think was fulfilled in the time of Antiochus. When Antiochus died, the Jews purified the temple and rededicated it just like Daniel said. And these events are commemorated in the celebration of Hanukkah. And we know that this is fulfilled because in John 10:22, it says, then came the festival of dedication, which is Hanukkah. At Jerusalem, it was winter, and Jesus was in the temple courts walking in Solomon's colonnade. So in Jesus' time, the temple had been consecrated and rededicated because he's walking in it. You may be going through suffering and hard time. Trust me, I know that so well right now. But do not let that distract you from the truth that God is faithful, that he is sovereign over all things, that he knows the past and the future, that yes, evil and suffering and the devil have their day. And it seems like it's just one thing after another, after another, after another. But God has set this timetable and he will extinguish evil forever. And I promise that this life is so short compared to the goodness of eternity, where there is no more death and pain and suffering and diagnoses. There is no more heartbreak and broken things. And I've told you guys this before, but something that I really recommend you doing is starting a note in your phone and just title it Things That Will Not Be in Heaven, and just list everything that seems hard, every disease that we know of, every painful thing, broken marriage, divorce, all drugs will be, like every addiction will break. That is what we get to look forward to. So we're sitting in this period of, we want Jesus to come back. He hasn't yet, but one day he will. And it's going to be so beautiful. So keep the hope. Keep trusting in the Lord. Keep counting on him because he's been faithful. He always will be faithful. He gave hope to people in captivity. He brought them back. He gave them redemption, and he's doing the same thing now. He's offering you redemption. He's bringing you back. He's offering grace and mercy, and we need to be people who just say, thank you, Lord. We might not understand what's happening here, but thank you, Lord, for revealing it, and just press in. We're going to do a lot about numbers tomorrow. So I'll see you tomorrow for Daniel chapter 9. It's a really good key of unlocking some end times stuff. So I'll see you then.